Shalom, shalom, peace, love, light, wholeness to each and every one of you all that are tuned in to reset the frequency. I wanted to take this time period to, for one, introduce myself and give you a little bit of my testimony, my story. That way you'll get a better understanding of what the Reset the Frequency podcast is about. We'll also talk about what we'll be covering on this podcast, as well as giving you our contact information if you do have any questions or any topics that you would like us to cover. So with that being said, first of all esteem to Yahuwah, the Most High, El, who El is short for Elohim in the Hebrew. It means power, right? Or God, really so much more than that. But I just want to thank him for what he's done for me. I'm a servant of him. And again, my name is El Yehuda Hanuk. El going back to, again, an extension of the power of the Most High El, who is Yahuwah. Yehuda, meaning, in the Hebrew, it means praise, right? It means the waving of the hand, right? Or the movement of the hand, I should say. I was given this name because, of course, one of the attributes of mine is I love praising Yah. I love the guitar. I love music. I am naturally a creator of music. Going back to even when I was a child, playing piano, drums. As an adult, I picked up guitar, and it's actually my favorite instrument now. But the name is so much deeper than just the idea of praise in the sense of music. It's really the idea of you being connected and moved by Yahuwah, the Most High, and your actions, your works, your hands being evidence of that movement, right? So that's where the Yehuda comes in. The Hanuk goes back to the Hebrew word Hanuk, which really means to dedicate or to be devoted to. It's the same root for where the word dedication or Hanukkah comes from. So that's who I am. To give you a little bit of my background, my story. I grew up as a Christian, right? My father was a pastor of a Baptist church in Michigan. And, I grew up, being raised with a Christian mindset in a Christian home. And it did provide me a foundation when it comes to the Bible. But as an adult, I definitely found my own path and I found my own way to the Most High Yah through experiences, right? So by the age of 21, I was already a licensed minister, right? So I was preaching the gospel and serving as a youth minister at my father's church in Southfield, Michigan. And I did that for some years, but in doing that, I was still, living a life of sin and doing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that really left me feeling empty on the inside. So I started a journey to pursue what the next level was for me. And my whole life, I have been being groomed to be a pastor because, that's what my father was. I got uncles that are pastors, my sister's in ministry. I just come from a family of Christians who are really devoted to Christianity and that aspect. So at a certain point, I began to seek seminary. I had to, the process took me some years to actually find a school. I ended up finding one in California, Pasadena, called Fuller Theological Seminary. I ended up going there in 2013. Like 2012, 2013 was really the entire, because it took me, I had to visit there, apply, get letters of recommendation and that whole thing before actually going. So I finally end up there 2013, and I didn't even make it a full semester. Halfway through the semester, I realized that this was some bull, right? That they were not teaching the Bible, right? They were not teaching the scriptures. They were not teaching the true history, the true depth of spiritual enlightenment that I was seeking for. I was not getting it. And it looked like they were teaching me how to run a business. And it's like, wait a minute, I already got a business degree from Central Michigan. I don't need a business degree in ministry. I'm going into the ministry of service because I want to know the truth, and I wasn't getting that there, so I dropped out and I turned back to music. Right, started back making music. At that time, I was teaching myself how to play the guitar, and I really just dived into that. And I spent some time really just seeking truth. And, because again, a lot of the things that I felt before as far as discrepancies prior to going to seminary was confirmed when I went. So I'm like, okay, they teaching the world. They teaching, a bunch of falsehood, a bunch of whitewash stuff, right? So, in 2015, I got introduced to a video by a gentleman by the name of Brother Yerushalayim. And in this video, the video might have been an hour long, but it was so powerful, and it dealt with who Hebrew Israelites are. I'm talking about black people in America, the so-called African American people who, came to America on slave ships, their true origin being the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the Bible. And he used Deuteronomy 28 to beautifully paint this picture of who we actually are according to not only Deuteronomy 28, but a bunch of biblical prophecy. I mean, he went everywhere from Ezekiel to Isaiah to the Revelation to you name it, the book of Yoel, the book, like he went there. Genesis, all throughout the script, he was proving who we were and who the curses in Deuteronomy 28 lined up to, right? And so after watching this, it sent me down a rabbit hole of enlightenment that I would come to not only knowing who Yah was, but who we are. And saying all this to say, my life changed then. At that time period, I had moved back to Michigan. I was playing guitar at my father's church as a minister, and I did, I still was a minister technically there. And, one time I got up and I preached, and, I shared the truth of what I had experienced, who we were as the people. I shed light on the names. I shed light on us having to keep the commands. And, of course, that was the last time they wanted me to speak there. However, it was a situation where I did see the light. I did see where certain people, even afterwards were like, you know what? I heard that before, and that's true. You're right. We the people, for sure. Like that's not far fetched. Like keep doing what you're doing because it's gonna lead you somewhere. And so I kept doing it, and really playing the guitar there was a job for me, and it helped me to get in tune with the instrument. But in the beginning, I don't even want to say just the beginning, but while I was there, I had so many interactions with people, and I got to really express my experiences with them and really be an extension or a portal for Yah's light to show people what the truth was. And so fast forward 2017, I ended up getting arrested for fraud. I was hanging out with some people, and there's a lot of the things that I actually did happened prior to me watching that video, but they caught up to me, and I got arrested on 2 counts, felonies, and I really had to seek Yah on that situation because I knew without him I would not get out of that situation. And it's ironic because, I don't want to say ironic, it was not random because on that same day I had put out a song, and this song ain't have nothing to do with Yah, nothing to do with truth. It was just me wanting to rap, and it was like Yah was still chastising me and showing me, hey, you are my servant, you belong to me. And I had to come to grips with that and really get serious about my walk with Yah. Because I had been doing so much studying and, learning Hebrew and studying the Bible cover to cover and, getting etymological dictionaries and apocryphas and, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew dictionaries and encyclopedias and, doing all this studying and all this work to wind up in jail. No, that's not the move. So, it really made me, get serious about keeping the Shabbats and really my relationship with Yah. And it changed my life. Like that time period was a pivotable change in my life, right? I was 31 years old at the time, and it was just like the time was now. Um, and it was just a beautiful time period. And I ended up getting blessed with a lawyer that I knew that actually went to my father's church. But it was so beautiful how it worked. But I believe that I got supernatural favor, and the charges that were felonies were dropped down to misdemeanors, and I was able to continue with my life. And it really was a wake up call for me. So I started to take, again, this walk of truth so much more serious. So after that, again, my music changed. I started really just devoting myself to the word of Yah, incorporating the word of Yah, my experiences in my music. And I ended up meeting my beautiful Isha, which in the Hebrew language means woman or wife. And she definitely changed my life. She What brought us together was her hearing the name of Yahuwah in one of my songs, and the rest is history. We immediately became best friends. Um, we had we shared so many intimate spaces of just building and speaking on the word of Yah and learning the Hebrew language together and getting baptized together, and just really just embarking on this journey of truth and then making music together, right? That's really where it all started, you know. And I'm not gonna, go down the depth of all the music that we made because we made a lot of music, but we were able to really just bond and connect and become one. And my life changed from there. So that's a long story short of the beginning, because at a certain point from the music, we ended up meeting people. And I remember at a certain point, this is like maybe 2018, where Maisha said, hey, I think you are called to bring forth the word. So we started inviting people to our house on the Shabbats, and every Shabbat we would, I would get either the acoustic or the electric guitar. We would sing, we would worship, and then we would crack open the word of Yah and allow the spirit, the ruach of Yahuwah to speak to us, and it was beautiful. And we did that for some time, and not a bunch of people, just a few people. Sometimes it might just be me, her, and one other person, if that. And we would just tap into the presence of Yahuwah, and it was so beautiful. And at a certain point, we started going out. Going out to various places. We would go downtown, the Riverwalk, different places, and we would meet people who bear witness to the truth of who we are as Yah's people, and it would grow. And eventually, we would start doing teachings, like, we would go live on Instagram or go live on YouTube, and, start uploading videos of doing teachings, and it was just beautiful. I know my Isha ended up forming a sisterhood with a lot of women who were coming into the truth at that time period, and it grew, and it it really showed the depth of how the Most High loves us and opening up so many people's eyes. I'm talking about women from all over the country, all over the world, really. So fast forward into 2019, really 2020, right around the time period of the pandemic, she had told me she had felt in her spirit that I was supposed to be giving forth the word, like, more consistently, like devoted to it, dedicated to it. And at the time, I believe I was working a landscape job, and they had shut that down. And I tried to get another one, they shut that down. And there was a lot of stuff going on, and I'm like, okay, are you speaking to me? And of course, I was scared in the beginning, but eventually, I really just dedicated myself to every day, because I was already studying and praying and fasting and doing that every day. But I devoted myself to every day making a type of video or a type of enlightening word that would enlighten Yah's sheep and Yah's people. And, after that, it just grew. People began to reach out to us via email. And of course, we were still simultaneously putting out music. I think at this point we had already had four albums that we had put out collectively, and individual albums that I produced for myself and for her that we put out. So it was definitely a space of the light of Yah shining through the works of our hands, and it was beautiful. And we the name was Zion, right? We went by Zion, and eventually it will be Zion Music Ministry Assembly. And there was so much that happened during the span period of 3 years where we were doing that, but there were a lot of mistakes that we made as well. So at a certain point, we ended up visiting some of our mishpaka, which means family in Hebrew, in Arizona, and we were just hit with the revelation that the Most High Yah was pressing the reset button on us, because there was a lot of conviction, a lot of error and mistakes, a lot of things that we said, a lot of things that we did, to each other, to those around, within the ministry, things that happened to us, that were done to us, that really caused wounds that we needed to heal from. So the Most High Yah began to shift the focus off of, what we were speaking was, heavy judgments and prophetic words of rebuke and judgment, to really healing, right? To being in tune, to aligning our vibrational frequency, which we're going to talk about today in a little bit, to what the Spirit of Yah was actually telling us to really be one with Him, right? So that's ultimately how the name Reset the Frequency got birthed. It was when we were in Arizona. And for a lot of people that don't know, Arizona is definitely it's like a portal for high vibrational frequencies. You see a lot of UFOs there. The sun is constantly shining there. So it's just a high vibrational place, beautiful place. And I believe that was really where the shifting began to take place. We of course, every Shabbat, for the most part, when we are led, we do give the word of Yah, I myself and my beloved Isha, and we gather with our family, and we esteem Him. We keep the feast of Yahuwah that are in the scriptures, right? You can read about this in Leviticus chapter 23, but we keep the biblical feasts, which would be, of course, Pesach, which is Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Shavuot, which is also known as Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, as well as the Feast of Sukkot, right? We also keep Purim, as well as dedication. And, I'm going to do teachings on these videos at a certain point in the podcast. I'm going to do teachings. But this is ultimately what we are, what we do, who we are, what we do, and what we have been called to as a family. This is not an individual thing. This is a collective of like-minded individuals that we are all on this path together to reach the kingdom of powers. We believe in the Most High Yahuwah as our power, as our El. We believe in following the laws, statutes, and commandments of the scriptures. However, we do not believe in animal sacrifice, because we follow the Messiah, right? We are messianic. We believe that Yahusha, which in Hebrew means Yah or Yahuwah, is salvation. We believe that He is the Lamb, right? He atoned for our sins, past, present, and future. So we do not do animal sacrifices, but we do keep the feasts. We keep the Shabbats. We keep the new moon feasts, right? Which is the beginning of years. And again, I will do some teachings on these to bring out the depth of understanding for these things. Now, of course, we also believe, just to give you an idea of some of the things that we're going to be talking about, is we are going to deal with the idea of God, the true names, right? As I already told you, Yahuwah is the God of the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible, of the scriptures. But the term God is its own in itself, and it's very confusing. There's a big deception in the world of religion regarding the idea of God, and we're gonna dive into that. Why names matter, emotions, history from an unbiased, from an Western colonization perspective, right? We're going to deal with creation, the 7 days of creation. We're going to deal with the flood. We're going to deal with Nimrod. We're going to deal with the Torah, the prophets, the renewed covenant or the new covenant. Of course, we're going to deal with the Hebrew language, where I'm going to be giving you some tools to help you get a firm root, a firm, solid root in understanding biblical Hebrew. We're also going to deal with dreams, right? We're going to deal with, the dietary laws, the diet, how you should be eating. We're going to be dealing with chakras, right? A lot of people in the Hebrew Israelite community think that that's weird, but no, it's actually something that is of a truth that Yah created us with, and we're going to prove it to you with the script. Hallelujah. I'm going to deal with masculinity, femininity. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a section of this podcast that's going to be devoted to women, and it's going to be entitled Ashet Chayil. Maisha is going to be leading that, and I'm so excited for that. But it's going to deal with women, right? Directly with women. We're going to deal with music, war, math, biology, chemistry, the Dead Sea Scrolls, angels, demons, birth, baptism, you name it, marriage, and many, many, many more topics that I probably haven't, said here, but we're gonna deal with a lot. It's gonna be a lot because again, this is reset the frequency. It's not just about the things that I'm comfortable with or you're comfortable with, but this is opening up your mind to Yahuwah's frequency, right? So, I want to talk a little bit about what frequency is, right? Frequency in physics is the number of waves that pass a fixed point unit in time, right? It's also the number of cycles or vibrations undergone during 1 unit of time by a body in periodic motion. So I'm going to explain in our vernacular, in our language, what that means. What that means is that everything in existence exists in a frequency or on a frequency, right? Same thing with the idea of a vibration, anything that's living or moving, right? This microphone that I'm speaking out of, it might not necessarily have a pulse, but guess what? The elements that make this microphone are living and breathing and moving. So guess what? This mic is connected to a divine frequency, just as we as beings are connected to a divine frequency. Now, just because you're connected to a divine frequency doesn't mean that you are righteous or you are set apart. There's certain frequencies that are divine that are not necessarily good in the eyes of the creator, Yahuwah. So we're going to be definitely dealing with the idea of what frequencies are beneficial to man. And I'm telling you, it's the frequency of life, which is Yahusha, right? Yahuwah, which, by the way, that name, I'm going to do a whole teaching. That's probably going to be one of the first teachings I'm going to do. But the name Yahuwah, some people pronounce it Yahweh, literally means the hand that gives breath or life or existence, according to the Hebrew. So, saying all this to say, that's what this podcast is. That's what this channel is, right? If you visit our YouTube channel or our SoundCloud page or any of our music pages, our Apple Music page, Spotify, whatever, you'll see that we are vessels. We are vessels, tools, instruments that open up a channel for the frequency of Yahuwah and Yahusha to reach his people. That's what this is about. It's about reaching a frequency of shalom, of peace, of truth, of light, of wholeness. No longer dwelling in darkness, but raising that vibrational frequency to be pleasing, to be at a state of producing righteous works for our King, our Master, our power, Yahuwah, and his son Yahusha. So, that's basically all I have to say. I'm not really gonna, add or take away. Every podcast episode is gonna be a different amount of time based off the information that's being presented. Like I said, in this episode, I really wanted to just introduce myself and to share the depth of what we're going to be dealing with and what we're going to be covering on the podcast. So please have an open mind, an open heart. and know that we're all on this journey together, and together we'll get to the place where we are all dwelling in and on the vibrational frequency of truth, of love, of light, of wholeness, of righteousness. Shalom, family.